Welcome to the Nothing But a Number podcast. Today I'm talking to Paulette Hamilton, MP for Birmingham Erdington, Labour MP. Paulette became an MP at the age of 59 after a by-election following the death of veteran MP Jack Dromey. Remarkably, she is Birmingham's first black MP. A daughter of the Windrush generation, Paulette started her career in the NHS, where she worked as a nurse for 25 years. After that, she was also a local councillor for more than 17 years, rejoining the healthcare frontline during the pandemic to support the vaccine rollout. Now she's a colleague of mine in the House of Commons, and I'm excited to hear more about her story and some of her wisdom.
Oh.
Welcome, Paulette.
Oh, thank you, Jo.
So, how does it feel?
To be in Parliament?
Yes.
Sometimes I still get that pinch me moment because it's something I never thought I would do. As we've talked about privately before, it really just happened by chance. And, you know, I'm a Christian, as you know, so I do believe nothing happens by chance. But the fact that I came into Parliament at this age was not something I'd planned for, but something I'm thoroughly enjoying.
So, I mentioned the Windrush generation, and I think a lot of people know it as a sort of a general story. For you, it's very personal. And
it is, because
yes,
my parents are Windrush.
Yes.
They came over in the Windrush time between 1944 and 1971, I think it was. And my mum came to the UK in 1962, and Dad came here in 1960, 59-60. Yeah. And then I was born the end of 1962. So I'm definitely the daughter of a Windrush parent. But Windrush has been a difficult subject for me and a difficult time because many people from my country, well, my parents' country, have suffered during Windrush because of some of the, I believe, injustices that have happened, because they came here, as you know, Jo, thinking they were British citizens, and it was removed from them quite unceremoniously, and large numbers of people suffered because of it.
And you still have family in Jamaica?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a sister, I've still got my brother, I've got my auntie, I've got lots of cousins. So I've still got quite a large family back in Jamaica, in the Caribbean, and I do see them regularly.
Well, we were on a trip together, weren't we?
We were.
We had a few glasses of rum and we got to chat a bit, and that's why I know you've got such a fascinating story.
Yeah, and you know, it was just such a shame that on that trip I really didn't get much chance to visit family, but it was just too far, and it was just not worth. It just wasn't worth trying to fit it in with that busy schedule, because people think parliamentarians go to these places and they have lots of time, but as you'll know, time was very, very short. Yes,
well, I know that. I mean, I learnt a huge amount about the Jamaican parliamentary system and how connected we are. I mean, you know, from a political point of view as well, you know, meeting the Speaker of the Jamaican Parliament and how they were really interested in our processes, which came as a little bit of a surprise to me that, you know, even though now they're operating obviously independently, they still have that very, very strong connection.
Yeah, well, they followed every process we had in the UK. And remember, as I said, England or the UK was always seen as the motherland. So everything they looked towards the UK for learning and development. And you still saw lots of remnants of that when we went to the Caribbean. And it was just interesting, some of the architecture, some of not just the way they did things, but how they behaved. It was very Englishy, but in the Caribbean. So I do believe there are still very strong connections between the UK and the Caribbean, and that's why I think we had such a nice time, I think, because it was really good to be home from home, if that makes sense.
It does. Although I was quite surprised. I think that you were possibly the most not critical, but sort of aware of challenging some of the expectations of the Jamaican government, because you knew the history much more closely, but also that sometimes the aspirations were possibly unrealistic.
I think I agree with you with that, because I want them to achieve, but I also want them, the Jamaican government, to understand that to achieve, there are certain things they perhaps need to do, but there are certain things we need to do in the UK. And I felt I was probably one of the ones best placed, because I do quite a lot of studying around what goes on in the Caribbean, especially Jamaica. And also I'm very tied into the diaspora, so I do understand what some of the key issues are. And also, as I'm sure you'll agree, many of the issues they've got there, we've got in the UK. And so perhaps if we did work a bit more closely together, we could probably solve some of those problems far more quickly, perhaps, because the issues are no different that we've got here to what they're facing there in some of their schools and other areas. It may be a little bit further down the road, but some of it you can see coming to the UK, and some of it you can see where the UK has been, and it's going to places like Jamaica, but also around travel and other things that they talked about. You could see their frustrations, but then they weren't listening to what perhaps they need to do if they want to make the changes which will help to lift some of the issues they currently face within the country. And I desperately want them to succeed, because this is where my mum is from, my dad is from, my aunties and uncles, and my mum loves that land. You know, as you know, Joe, I call my mum the Queen. I tell everybody she's the Queen. And, you know, the Queen is away from her throne because she's in the UK, and her throne is back home, because if you think it's bad here, when she's back home, you know, she's got everybody around her. But it just would be really nice for some of the issues that are being faced, that perhaps she could see them sorted in her lifetime.
Yes, it's interesting. You have, as you told me, got a very large family. Yes. So one of 7?
Yes, I'm one of 7 children.
And you have 6 children and 7 grandchildren? Between myself and my husband, yes. So how much, I mean, is that helpful or more of a struggle for you in terms of your professional life? You know, because you would have the role of carer, but you also have lots of family helping you. And so that whole kind of intergenerational support, which I think is probably lost quite often in culture in Britain. The Jamaican culture you have retained that sort of sense of family.
Yeah, Joe, very much so. Family comes first. It really does. The staffers will tell you if my mum rings or a member of the family gets in touch. Unfortunately, or fortunately, you have to. My mum is 84, so it has to take precedent, because at the moment I don't know how long I'm going to have her there for. So for me, family and family bonds are really important to me. It helps me to be a better MP, actually, because I do understand the value of family. And I think as an MP, you also have to have balance. And I believe I have that. You know, I have my brother and my sisters are phenomenal, because they do the bulk of the lifting when it comes to my mum. There is nothing she wants that they do not deliver on. But they're also in their 50s, so they're getting older. But it is, caring for my mum is our main duty, and it's not just a duty, it's something we do, and we do with love. So we divide the duties, you know, because I'm not around as much as the others. My duties are slightly different to what the others have to do, but one will do the shopping, and one will ensure that she gets her hair done, and just different silly things that you wouldn't really think about, but she's not able to do it herself anymore, so she gets that support. So family networks are really, really important to me. But also, I've got a very, very long-suffering husband, which, to be honest, in the list of things, he's at the top, but sometimes I don't know how he puts up with everything else that I do, but he's a very, very, very good man.
That's wonderful to hear, because It's so important, isn't it, with a job as pressurised as this, to have that support from...
It is, and the two things we do, I make sure each night before I go to bed, no matter what I've been doing all day, I touch base. So I speak to him before I go to bed at night and when I wake up. Because as you know, most people will understand that as politicians, we don't live at home during the week if we're not London-based. So I come to London normally on a Monday. I go home Wednesday or Thursday. And normally, so I'm here for three nights normally. And the only thing my husband asks of me is, just give him a ring in the night. First thing in the morning, he'll ring me or I'll ring him just to make sure, touch base. And that is all he asks of me. He will hold everything down the other end while I'm here being an MP. And when I go back, as you know, Joe, it doesn't stop there, because you're in London doing the policy things and the meetings and everything else that we do here. But you leave from London once you've been in the chamber and all the hype and what have you, and you've still got your constituency work that you've got to do. You've got policy work, you've got casework that's happening, you've got emergencies that are cropping up in the constituency. You've also got leafleting, door knocking, everything. And, you know, when you get home on a Thursday, we've still got surgeries. Most MPs still do surgeries, whether it's in person or online, and you're still doing what you have to do to ensure the job gets done. And sometimes if you're not careful, family do get forgotten a little bit. But I have to be honest, Joe, especially as an older MP, I do try to ensure that Sundays are not used for anything. It doesn't always work, but I do try to leave Sundays for family.
Yeah, I was really interested to read... correct me if this is wrong, but you recently joined the local park run with your grandchildren.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I have huge admiration, because you've just outlined how very busy you are. And yes, in that, I mean, it's a combination of doing things with the grandchildren, but also keeping fit, I guess.
Yes, because as you get older, you know, I am. As you know, I also have joined the gym. I don't go as often as I should do, but I am a member of a gym, because as you get older, you have to ensure you look after yourself. Up until Christmas, I more or less went weekly or regularly. Since Christmas, I've not been going as often. But yes, me, my grandson, my husband, the girls, we all do park run. It's 1 hour a week, and it means it's a bit of competition for each other. I've got this one daughter, she's really good at it, but I don't care that I take 50 minutes or 48 minutes. I do it in my own time, and I get round, and just achieving it, completing it, means a lot to me.
And I guess it's about balance, isn't it? It's about having relaxation, because you can't do this job if you don't have that balance.
I need time away, because this job can be physically and especially mentally quite stressful, because you're thinking about everything. And even though I have one of the best teams in Parliament, I always say this, they're always thinking 2 steps ahead of me, and they're really good at what they do. But the buck stops with me, and if I make any mistakes or anything goes wrong, it goes out in my name, and I have to ensure that I do what is being asked of me. But yes, park run is something I thoroughly enjoy. I used to, when I was younger, I loved spinning, I loved doing gymming type things, but now aqua aerobics. So I was in the pool last week, was it Friday, with a group of women, and I looked around and I thought, these are all old women. And I was, and there's to the left, to the right, and I thought, Lord, what am I reduced to? But I really enjoyed it. They were absolute fun. And I think sometimes it's learning to grow old with grace.
I've just been doing a speech about pension of poverty and looking at how we talk about age, because you've just said, you know, you look around and you say old women, we don't identify, because old age is something that happens to other people.
Exactly.
And you know, you still feel 20 inside. Exactly. And then you look at them.
1.5, Joe, you've forgotten that 1.5.
So why is it that we fixate so much on being in denial about our biological age?
I think it's because of what it brings with it. Because, you know, I'm a black woman of a certain age. All three of those carry a stigma. One being a woman, two being a black woman, and three being a woman over 60. So it means it has this, you can be discriminated against. People think, well, you've gone over the hill. And Joe, I don't know when I climbed the hill, much less when I got over it. And so when age is nothing but a number, but I can say it, but do other people believe it? And I think this is why it's... age has always been something that I've kept quite close to my chest, because I've always felt if you have to tell somebody your age, then they may think because you're that age, you can't do something. And I don't want my age to be a barrier to anything.
You're absolutely right that the perception is that you reach a certain age, and you know you read in magazines, or you know what age should you stop wearing a mini skirt, and they come up with probably after 40, or leather trousers, and don't you think it's ridiculous that
I've broken those rules already, because I've got both leather trousers and I can assure you I wear dresses above my knee. So at the end of the day, I do not follow what people think you should follow of a certain age. I think if you feel comfortable, if you're confident, if you look good in it, I think I don't think your age should be the determination of what you then wear.
And do you think women struggle more or are discriminated more against it in terms of age than men?
Yes, I do. I think when a man gets older, he's seen like a fine wine.
Silver fox.
Exactly. And we love a silver fox. But as a woman gets older, one thing, not all of us, I'll speak for myself, me going grey naturally just is not going to happen, because I'm just not there yet mentally.
You speak for me as well.
So things like still wanting to dye your hair, which I suppose is a sign of denial that you're aging. You want to do that. Whereas with a man, they will get grey naturally, and it's seen as a mark of they've arrived, and many men, as they get older, they're seen as being older and wiser, but we don't seem to have that wise bit added to the vocabulary when it comes to us. So I do think as a woman you are discriminated against as you get older, and you're seen as not being able to do certain things and be and do certain roles. And I do feel once you get to a certain age, people are wanting to remove you from certain things rather than supporting you to do things. I think when a woman, it's menopause, it's awful, because the lack of support for menopausal women is terrible. It's getting better. Lots of work have been done. It's been done in that area, and it is getting better, Joe, but it's not there yet. And I remember the first time I hit the menopause, I had a hysterectomy, and that hot flush that you get. And I was in a really high-level meeting, and all I could think was the world was coming in on me, because the hot flush, it was just rising and rising and rising, and I was getting more and more anxious, and there was just nothing. And literally, I exploded, when it just gets to the top and you can't cope. And I sat there and the tears just come out of my eyes. And the gentleman who was with me at the time, an officer it was, he literally stood in front of me and he gave me a tissue and he said, "Don't worry, my wife's going through the same thing." And it was really, really good of him. But the fact was, I couldn't have functioned at that level if I didn't seek help. And a lot of women, they don't even realise what is happening to them. So I sought the help I needed. And I'm not ashamed to say, I will go on a stage and say, I live for my patches twice a week. As soon as if I don't put that patch on, I know within 24 hours. But many women do not have that confidence. They haven't been given that support to be able to be as open as somebody, as the way I feel that I am. So for me, that's been a stage in my life that I'm going through at the moment. It will be a stage in my life that I don't know how long it will last, but I do feel while I'm an MP, that extra help that those patches give will be welcome, and I will not be letting go of them unless there is some reason for it. But that is something else women have to put up with, you know, as well as people telling you your bones are getting more brittle. Make sure you take your vitamin D and your calcium. Make sure you rub your joints with castor oil. I'm sure you've heard it all.
I've just had my shingles jab, you know.
So it's all the things you need to do. Yeah. And sometimes your head is not there. Yes. But you need to ensure that you're just that little bit more careful, because you are getting older. But you can actually function at a very high level. But you just sometimes need that little extra support to just ensure that you get what you need health-wise and what have you.
Do you think your nursing background has helped you understand that?
Absolutely. I worked as a nurse for over 20 years, 25, 26 years. I absolutely, as a nurse, what I've learned is and you know what else, Joe? Once you've had 5 babies, what is there to be embarrassed about? More so having the children and being a nurse, having a whole unit full of other health professionals that you've got to manage with all their issues and crises and childcare issues going on and everything else happening.
You're listening to Nothing But a Number, the podcast that looks at age and ageing with a wide array of fabulous guests. We've got some brilliant guests coming in the next few weeks, and if you want to be notified when the next upload is, please subscribe and click the notification bell, and we'll tell you exactly what's coming next.
Helped me to be far more open and transparent with the way I am, because I found that for my personality, it has been the only way to be, because sometimes as a woman, especially as a black woman, you feel as if you're invincible. You can't show that you care or you cry, or you just can't show emotion. I haven't got that problem. I have not got that problem. You know, I just don't have that problem, because my argument is, if I don't let it out, I can't cope. It just builds up and builds up and builds up. And I feel as if I'm just losing it. So many women, especially black women, I have found that they try to be, oh, we can do everything. No, I won't sit here, Joe, and tell you I can do everything. I won't tell you that my life, being a nurse, being a mother of 5, working in the Royal College of Nursing, then being a local councillor, all that has shaped me into what I am today, which is a strong black woman of a certain age.
That is, I mean, I couldn't have summarised it better myself. It is that thing of you are your history, yeah. And you know, that's why I think the lack of not just understanding, but valuing of people's experience. And it's not just professional experience, because, I mean, you've had, you know, lots of different phases of your professional experience, but it's about, you know, what you've learnt along the way that is so important and so valuable. How is it, though, that as a society we kind of forget about, you know, I think sometimes you hear people saying, well, you know, things have changed since your day, and that sort of perception of, well, you know, the world has moved on, and that somehow as you grow older, you don't move with it?
No, I hear what you're saying, and people do say that, but my response back to that is, things have changed. They have changed to when, you know, my history has been, I love music. We were in Jamaica and we went to the Bob Marley house, and I love that type of music. I love cultural reggae. When I listen to what some of the youngsters are listening now and they call that music, I'm glad I loved cultural reggae, because it's not my thing. I don't like the swearing and some of what I hear going on today. But it doesn't mean that my experience can't be brought to what they are listening to or what they are doing now. My culture is what defines me. My colour is what defines me. My sex is what defines me. And also the long professional, my working background has defined me. And also the people that have been around me have defined me. So I genuinely believe, as someone of a certain age, no, the youngsters may have one way of doing it, but I can add value to what they're doing. But what I do think we need to do as older people, my way is not always the right way. So part of what we have to do is listen to what they're saying, because sometimes what they're saying isn't wrong, but it's just that sometimes the way they're going about saying it or doing it, perhaps we can add value to say, perhaps look at doing it this way, because that's what our experience actually adds to the mix. Or sometimes it's about saying to them, they don't know what it is they're trying to say, but you can help them work that out because you've had that lifetime of experiences behind you and you've still got a way to go. So there is value in both what a young person, a middle-aged person, an older person, or a very old person wants to bring to the table. But it's just how we put it all into the melting pot and we bring it all out. And it's just being patient with each other, because my team, the average age is 26, but I wouldn't be without them. You know, and sometimes when we're in the office, we have a right scream, I'm twice their age. But sometimes they look, you know, I think it's just, are you young at heart? And are you prepared to not just be the old person in the room waiting to die? I'm definitely not that person. So, and I don't even see myself as old. So at the end of the day, it's just who you are and how you value and respect others.
Definitely. At this point, I like to look at the year of of people's birth, and just to kind of compare what happened then and how we moved on. So I'm looking at 1962, where the Ford company launches the Cortina at a cost of £573. There was some terrible weather. I always think it's interesting that we think that bad weather is all to do with current climate change, but there was severe smog in London which caused numerous deaths, and a big freeze in Britain with no frost-free nights between December the 22nd and the 5th of March, which seems to be quite amazing. This is one close to your heart. The Britain's motorway expands with the completion of the first phases of the M5 and the M6 between Birmingham and North Gloucestershire, because I know Spaghetti Junction is not a million miles away from you, is it? The Cuban Missile Crisis we faced, and in terms of pop music, we had the the debut single from the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. And as you say, you know, they're still going. Certainly, the Rolling Stones are still going strong. But it's that thing, isn't it? They're allowed to age and be rock stars.
Exactly. And still have the young girls running after them, you know. So,
yes.
But, you know, women are catching up. They're catching up.
So, Paulette, who do you think, or you know, are there a number of people that have influenced you along the way, mentors or people that you admired that helped you in, you know, a number of sort of changes of direction that you've had in your life?
It started at school. I had this teacher. I had one teacher that was very negative, but I had another teacher, Mr. Potter. Never forget him. He had patch collar, you know, those patch leather, what do you call it? Elbow pads. And he always smoked a pipe. Do you remember back in the day, the youngsters will not remember that, but teachers were allowed to smoke in school. Yeah. And he always had a pipe. And Mr. Potter always saw something in me that no one else could see. And he always used to say to me, "You are going to go far." He said, "You're silently determined." And he said, "I will do everything I can to push you, even if it means pushing you over a cliff." And then when I went into my nursing, there was this nurse called Mrs. Inchcliffe, and she used to always have a go at me. I'll never forget it, everything I did, because I was quite mouthy back in the day. I'm not very, oh my God, I'm not very tall, but I was I was short, but I was very mouthy. And she'd always, and she pulled me to one side and she said, "You don't just have to be as good as the other nurses, you have to be 10 times better. And I'm not going to get off your back until you do what I need you to do and shine." And as I got older, I did see her again, and I thanked her, to be honest, because she was one of those that started me on this road of discipline, being disciplined in everything I do. And then I went to work, and I went to work for the unions, and there was a woman called Anne Leadham Smith. And again, Anne was one of these formidable women. Honestly, she was formidable, and there was nothing. She didn't see barriers, and she would say to me, "I'm going to do this. I believe you can do this. Apply for it. I'll support you." She'd mentor me. "You can do it." And she was very, very positive. And then I've had lots of people that have been on the journey with me. But another one is a gentleman called Mick from a ward I was in for years. Mick Archer, his name was. Very unassuming man, very tall Englishman. They used to call him my political husband. But what he did, he taught me the importance of politics, especially as I was in local politics. And it wasn't so much about my style of politics or his style of politics. It's about the professionalism of politics. And he was really good at that, and I loved him for that. There were other people, but he was really good. But as I'm going to say it again, my sisters, my mom, and my husband, nothing, even jobs I applied for. I remember I applied for this job, which meant I'd be away from home for days on end, and I'd got a young baby. And I said to my sister, "I can't do the role. There's no way I can't. My husband's not going to have the baby for..." She said, "Apply for the role. We'll work it out between us. And if you can't do it, pack it up then." And I took the job and ended up having it for 8 years. Because because that's what women do. We always find a reason why we can't do something. And my sister was so determined that I could do it. She said, "Take the job and we'll work out how we'll do the childcare." Wasn't her children, it was me and my husband, but you know, it takes a village to raise your children. And I'm telling you, I had a village around me that was prepared to support while I went off and did other things. So there were lots of influences in my life. But I think, and there weren't people that were on the television, and there were people that saw something in me and went on that journey with me. And I can't thank them enough. There's so many of them, I can't thank them enough. But I remember when Obama became president and Nelson Mandela became when he came out of prison, those were special times because I saw a black person achieving it. And the reason Nelson Mandela was so important, because I was involved in the struggle. Free Nelson Mandela, involved in the struggle. So when he came out of prison, I was on the steps of the council house celebrating, and it was just wonderful. And then when Obama became president, it was as if my family member had become president, because I finally saw people my colour in this first world countries achieving what you didn't think we would ever achieve, and it meant a lot to me.
The role models are really important, well as the village that helps raise a family.
Yeah. How
do you think young people today who don't have that large family connection, we see them struggling with their mental health? What can we do, or can we do more to help the younger generation by connecting them, with the wisdom, the mentoring of older generations?
We can, but we also have to have the services in place. The older generation can help; they can go a long way. But we also we need to have the services to do the counselling that is needed for that generation. Many of us live with mental health. As I've always said, Joe, and you've heard me say it quietly, and I'll now say it publicly, most of us throughout our lives, we're balancing mental health. And it depends on the support you've got around you, whether you go under or you succeed. And many people who are at work, they have up days, they have down days. They are fighting with their mental health. It doesn't mean they stop at home and they don't do anything. Many people continue to work and they work through it. The issue we now have is, whereas before we had like youth centres, we had like old people's day centres where you could bring younger people in. In many schools, they would have those like outdoor farming, they could have planters and what have you, and older people would come in and speak to them. In the ward that I was a local councillor, we'd have the elderly come into Parliament with the young people, and they'd spend the day together so they could impart their knowledge. They would have Christmas parties where you would mix. That seems to be not as popular as it once was, as things start to get harder and things are slowing down. Joe, we have to have the services there to support people before they crash. Yeah. That's what prevention is about. You do it from within the village. If the village can't support it, you then have the low-level resources or complexes out there where people can get the support they need to help them from, I can't think of another word, but from crashing. And then it becomes a long-term problem where they then are not working, they are living off the state, and they are struggling to get out of that, because mental well-being is absolutely vital. But people have to understand that mental well-being, it's something you've got to work on. It doesn't just happen. And sometimes just going for a walk around the block, I used to 8 dogs. We've now got 2 dogs. 2 of my children have got dogs. And now if you come into the house sometimes, you think, who is Paulette talking to? The dogs. Cuthbert. Mo! And you'd think I was... And then I've got a cat amongst all of that. And then I'll go, Iffy, come for your dinner. And I'm thinking, I've now lost the kids to the pets. But, you just find other things to mentally keep you stimulated, as well as work.
Paulette, can I say, I dug up some photographs of you on the website, and you have the biggest smile that I have ever seen. That's you, presumably on your wedding day?
No, we went to Buckingham Palace.
Oh, right.
We went many years ago, myself and Dennis, about 2008-9. We went to Buckingham Palace, and it was the first time I'd gone to Buckingham Palace, and that was just outside. I think we're going in or something, and so that was what that was.
Gosh, because he's got the top hat, hasn't he?
He's got the top hat.
A milliner.
Being a milliner, he went to town.
But you just always look so very happy.
Oh my God! Is that online?
Yes, this is all online.
Oh my God! Well, that's a picture of me.
You may want to delete some of it.
That's a picture of me and my eldest daughter. She's now 42.
Gosh. But you can see the smile.
Yes, it hasn't
always
changed.
there.
It hasn't changed.
Is there anything that stops that smile? Anything that, really sort of gets you down?
Sometimes when I see what's happening in the world at the moment, and I think I do get upset a little bit. I do, because especially the stuff with Gaza at the moment, it does rest on me a little bit, and I want us to do the best we can in this country. But other than political type things, I have to be honest, I've got one of the best families in the world, and they keep it real, because once I go through the door, I'm mum again, and it's no good sitting down wanting to have long political debates when you've got grandkids there. Nanny, are you going to cook the dinner tonight? And you've got kids running riot and dogs, cats, the whole gambit going on. You haven't really got time to sit there in your thoughts. So I think some of the things on the world stage, I do worry about what's happening in the health service. Could I make a difference? What could we do to make people's lives a little bit easier with waiting lists? You're listening to Nothing But a Number, the podcast that looks at age and ageing with a wide array of fabulous guests. We've got some brilliant guests coming in the next few weeks, and if you want to be notified when the next upload is, please subscribe and click the notification bell, and we'll tell you exactly what's coming next. I'm a bit of a health buffing, should I say. I do enjoy things relating to health and health issues, but I'm finding that foreign policy is beginning to attract, whereas before I wasn't as interested as I was. I do love levelling up and what's going on there, and I do find that even with the financial stuff, I'm becoming far more clued up as to what's happening, because coming to Parliament, that is the beauty of being an MP. You get all sorts coming through your mailbag, and you really have to get yourself upskilled on not only what your party's policy is, but what are your views? So you really do understand when you're writing to people that they can hear you amongst the policies, and it's not just bland words. No, you're absolutely right about that, needing to be a sort of jack of all trades, master of none in Parliament, but to get up to speed on lots and lots of different topics. Is there any topic that that you didn't know you were interested in until you got here? Anything that surprised you in terms of engagement? It sounds really daft, but coming from local government, you have such a wide brief, and I was at the top of local government working in the LGA also, that there was lots of things that I found I started to have an interest in there. But the big one for me has been foreign policy, really grappling and getting to grips and being absolutely clear on what the UK foreign policy is. And also I did spend a period of time as a PPS in the defence team, and again, getting to understand the UK's defence type policies and where we were at and what our defences were like and how that bit of the world works, which would take years to learn. But I found that I was starting to lean, when I left, more towards veterans and housing issues and mental health issues. So again, that was going back towards health. But the big one for me has been foreign policy. Foreign policy and defence.
So, Paulette, if the Paulette that I see today could give a piece of advice to the young woman who was just starting out on her career, or even the child in that school being encouraged to work hard, what piece of advice would that be?
You'll get there. Slow but sure, you will get there. Do not let the haters distract you from what God has in store for you, for those of you that are Christians, because you will get there. Your will and your ambitions will be fulfilled, but you have to pace yourself, because for every challenge, it's for when you get older or when you get more experience, you're able to deal with the situation through the adversity you've gone through before. And for every adversity, it makes you stronger as you're going through.
Bucket list. Do you have a bucket list yet? Or, things that you still want to achieve?
Oh, there's loads. I'd love to be some sort of ministerial minister if you're looking at work, if you're looking at home, if you're looking at family. I'd love to travel to Vietnam, New Zealand, Cambodia, that part of the world, go and explore that a little bit. If you're looking at home life, nothing really to achieve, just want to continue being successful with my family. But it would be lovely to have a little bungalow, but not just yet. But I'd love to buy a little bungalow somewhere, me and my husband and the cat. I don't want the dogs. The dogs will go with their mummies. And yeah, that would be nice. And perhaps a nice little holiday home somewhere. I don't know. They're all pipe dreams, but you never know.
You have to dream.
You have to dream.
Paulette, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been really lovely talking to you.
Always a pleasure, Jo.